meetings with British Prime Minister David Cameron and also British Secretary of Defence Michael Fallon. In addition, the President discussed economic and regional issues with Cameron, while his talks with Fallon covered Egypt's war on terrorism. Over the phone, we have with us Ambassador Ahmed Hagag, his former Assistant Foreign Ministry. First of all, good morning, Mr. Ambassador. Hello? Hello? I think we lost the call. Hello, Mr. Ambassador, can you hear me? Right. So I think we we lost the call. Definitely we will call the ambassador again to discuss this in more details. And definitely this is one of the important visits because just as we all know that it covered a number of issues, first of all, talking about this conference with David Cameron, this was really very, very important. And also talking about the terrorism in the region, how we can all collaborate working on combating terrorism, how important it is, especially that we all know the security in the region is not only limited to one country. Definitely, for example, if we are talking about Syria, if we're talking about Libya, all this will affect our national security in Egypt and also will affect the national security across the globe. And we all know that Europe, of course, suffered a lot from this.
And also, I think President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, during his visit, he held talks regarding enhancing the bilateral cooperation between Egypt and the UK. And I think now we have the phone with us. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning.
First of all, sir, can you tell us about the importance of the visit and the significance of the timing? Why is it nowadays?
President Sisi visit to the UK and especially London went very smoothly. President Sisi was careful to make interviews with major media outlets in Britain, the Daily Telegraph, the BBC Arabic, the BBC English. He met leaders of think tanks in Britain and the Director General of the British Gas and so on. It was going very smoothly till the unfortunate statement by the British Foreign Secretary, which announced information that there was a bomb on the Russian plane, and it was the reason which led to the downfall of this. The British Secretary never cared to call his counterpart to tell him about this information. He did not make the British intelligence call their counterpart in Egypt. He did not share that and this led to more panic among European airliners and more panic among the British tourists in Britain itself. It's a very unfortunate incident. I hope it was rectified later when the British government decided to resume flights to Britain, to Sharm el-Sheikh and back.
Right, I believe also President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi tackled this in a very professional way. Still, we are waiting for the investigations. Even the Russian side, they answered that still we are all waiting for the investigations. Still, we cannot jump to conclusions, especially that such accidents happen everywhere across the globe. So, also talking about different issues that were discussed, especially when it comes to the national security, not only in Egypt, we're talking about the region, terrorism taking place in Libya and Syria, in all these countries right now, how important it is, especially when it comes to the meeting that was held recently with Fallon in London.
There was a tradition among countries to share intelligence information they get with their friends in the region. And that's why we are surprised by this British announcement, which was rectified later. But its effect has been led many European airliners to declare that they are going to stop their flights to Sharm el-Sheikh and back, and also for making a lot of panic among British tourists in Sharm el-Sheikh. I have seen some scenes of this on newsreels of other outlets. So I think this is a good lesson. I hope the British side have learned not to be hasty in announcing a decision without consulting with the country concerned, primarily either Egypt or Russia.
So, Mr. Ambassador, ahead of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's visit to London, he held many interviews with the British media outlets. So, can you tell us what was the highlight of these interviews and what are the messages he wanted to send before going to London?
I think there are two meetings which drew my attention. The meeting was the International Institute for Strategic Studies in London. It is one of the leading think tanks in the world, not only in Britain. And he did have a very frank discussion with its members. And he spoke analytically about the situation in the Middle East and its ramification on Europe and the neighboring countries. And he answered a lot of questions about the future of Egypt and the future of the region itself. The second one was the Director General of the British Gas, which assured him about the measures the Egyptian government have undertaken to guarantee any investments in Egypt, and the British Gas is one of the major investment outlets in Egypt, especially in petroleum and gas.
Right. Also, these meetings included some meetings with the top officials or businessmen, British businessmen, and definitely this is of great importance when it comes to the investments in Egypt. And we all know that we have huge British investments already in Egypt, and definitely we need to promote for more investments. So, what is your input on this, and how far can we, or what kind of facilities do we need to offer to the investors here in Egypt?
I think we appreciate that the United Kingdom is number one country in the world in investing in Egypt, not only in gas and petrol, but in many other products. And this will make it conducive to other countries to follow suit, especially after the recent measures which the Egyptian government have already undertaken to make it easier for foreign investment, with guarantees that they will find electricity to provide their investments, and also guarantees that their money will be guarded, and there is guarantees that also they will have the right to return their profits to their countries in foreign currency. So these are very important things. I think the President Sisi and his delegation were successful in conveying this important message to the British counterpart.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ambassador, also, we all know that Britain was hit by terrorism, and at the same time, Egypt was hit by terrorism. So both countries are suffering from the same problem. How can they cooperate together and exchange the experiences in fighting terrorism in order to combat it as much as we can?
I think there was already cooperation between Egypt and Britain in taking joint measures and exchanging information till this unfortunate incident, which I mentioned before, by the statement, the sudden statement of the Foreign Secretary of Britain, which led to chaos and havoc in the European airlines and the British community in Sharm el-Sheikh itself. I hope this will not deter the two countries to resume effective cooperation and consultation and cooperation in sharing intelligence information about what's happening in the region, which will affect Britain and Egypt, by the way.
Yes. And at the end, we would like to thank Ambassador Ahmed Hagag. He is the former assistant at the Foreign Ministry. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for joining us over the phone and for your analysis.
Thank you very much. And with this, we come to the end of our